Hello, everybody. Buddy with Midland, Texas. I've got a video today. What I want to call attention to is we have a missing girl in Midland. Yet another missing girl in Midland. You're looking at her picture right there, Chloe Robledo, or I'm not sure how to pronounce that last name. But I think one thing I noticed that was interesting about this. This is on MSN, on the Microsoft News Network. I mean, this thing made national news, and this was a runaway from Midland, and or that's what it sounded like to me. And of course, I was calling attention to the underground homes where I was told the young girl was murdered at, and and I think there's probably a lot of people that want to find this girl real quick because Buddy's going to call for everybody to look in the underground homes where they rape and murder other little girls, and then that's really what I'm thinking is the reason that we're getting so much attention to Chloe here. Okay, Midland, Texas. Here, a family searching for answers after their loved one, 15-year-old Chloe Robledo, went missing earlier this week. Robledo was last seen at a home on February 15th. Family says she may have left the home with three friends. They do not know their names nor have contact with them. Her phone's turned off, according to her sister, nor has her friend shown up at school. The family said after about 50 hours, Robledo said her mom, through tears, "I'm sorry, I love you, but I have to go." She was last seen wearing blue plaid pajamas and a black hoodie. Okay, and this is now listed on the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Is sounding the alarm. Okay, so I want to show you that. Starting with that. Okay, one thing here I want to show you, we've had many missing girls here in Midland, and and this is that I've documented, and I'm sure there's more. Since my friend told me about a young girl being murdered at a party going on during the 2010 Permian Basin International Oil Show. I believe that happened in the underground homes. We're going to talk about more about that here in a minute. But here's one of them, Caitlin Marie Dennison. Okay, here, and she went missing in 2018, missing from Midland, Texas. That's where we're at, right? That's the home of the underground homes, right? Okay. Date of birth is 98. Okay, she was 19 years old. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and here I'll show you here. Dennison lived in Reno at the time of her disappearance. In 2017, she met an unidentified man from Midland in Reno. 6 months later, on January 9, 2018, she flew with the man to Midland. Before she left, she didn't tell her family any details, such as his name or whatever. Okay, she told her sister, "This guy makes me scared for my life." Dennison would last contact her family on January 10th, the day after her arrival in Midland. She spoke to a relative on the phone from a Walmart store in Midland. She has not been seen or heard from since, and her family is afraid for her safety. Her case remains unsolved. Okay, and and even on this case, I've told people this before. Back right after I was shot, my home health care nurse, Melissa Gibbs, was here, and she was telling me about this wealthy guy from Midland that took a group of girls to Reno every year, and my understanding is it was connected with human trafficking, okay? And I wondered if that guy, knew something about the disappearance of Caitlin, and I long suspected even back then that the person she was telling me about was connected to these crimes that had to do with the underground homes where they rape and murder little girls. Okay, and and we're going to go about that in a minute. Here's the next one. I'm going to tell you about another girl named Crystal Lynn Hall. Last contact October 1st, 2019. Okay. And I'm not going to read this whole thing, but she met a guy online from Midland. Okay, she took a bus here to Midland from Altoona. That's what it says. She took a Greyhound bus from Altoona to Midland, and it goes on here. It says Crystal also told him that she believed that she was potentially going to be involved in sex trafficking, and she was with 4 men and 4 women. The women were not allowed to talk to each other. It was relayed to Smith that Crystal did not know where she was or an address, but it was that she sent her a picture of a photo. Okay, and they've showed that online. This is that photo. Look how much she looks like the other girl that went missing. Comes to Midland, never seen again. About same age, blonde hair, blue eyes, etc. Okay, and once again, both of these are suspected to be involved in sex trafficking. Okay. Okay, here's another one. This is Jacala. Okay, this is back in 2015, Salazar. Okay, and I've got some print screens from two different people telling me how that she was connected with human trafficking, okay, or sex trafficking, prostitution. And this is another murder I suspected. They actually found her remains, and I think they might have charged somebody here. She was gone for several years. That's another, what I believe to be another sex trafficking murder, okay, in this area, okay. So then we're just going to start here, right here, okay, on my Facebook here recently. Well, this is one I just posted. I said the underground homes are where affluent Midlanders can rape and murder young girls without fear of police or press, and it could be your daughter next. And I believe that to be true. You know, I mean, that's what explains why the police play stupid and look the other way. Why your press acts like they're so dumb that they can't pick up a pencil. You know, I mean, literally. You know, and little girls are being raped and murdered here, and with all kinds of evidence, we know it's here. Okay, and you know, and I think that's why there's such a panic to find this girl making national news. We got to find this little girl before they expose underground homes where we rape and murder these other little girls, right? Because it's very possible that's where she's at, right? There are several young girls that have gone missing from Midland in the last few years, and at the same time it's believed that young girls were being forced to prostitute at some underground homes said to be here by multiple people, with at least one of those being murdered, okay? And this is... I'm going to show you here on this meme I made, okay? This is where you go to Google Maps and look at my home, okay? And this is a satellite picture. This was the map picture. And in my backyard, it showed this large building. That was since recently deleted, this bunker in the backyard. It was there for 10 years or so until I notified the city of Midland that there's multiple people documents saying there's underground homes here with supporting evidence on Google Maps, and then all of a sudden it gets deleted, okay? Ain't that amazing? And that's where it's believed they rape and murder these little girls at. And then here, and in 2010, that's when my friend told me about the young girl being murdered, right? Because she wasn't prostitute. Forced prostitution's what it was. And she wasn't the only one there, okay? They found the remains of a young girl, 14 to 21-year-old young girl outside of Midland. This is another one, okay? On top of all them other ones, okay? And I've suspected this is the one that was murdered at the oil show parties Angie told me about due to the timing and the lack of investigation. Because I think it'd be real easy to uncover, to expose them underground homes and solve, you know, all these crimes, many crimes and murders, and maybe find these young girls, you know, and arrest these people that are kidnapping them, okay, forcing them into prostitution. So I shared the story of Chloe right here on Facebook this week before it went national news. I said, there are several missing girls in Midland at the same time they're underground homes. There's belief. I read that. Why are our press and law enforcement hiding these underground crime centers when there's so much evidence? Do I need to secretly record another sheriff candidate saying they're here? Do we need another Crime Stoppers for another young girl homicide? This is bullshit, okay? I mean, that's what it is. It's bullshit, you know? I mean, 50 other homeowners reporting people in the attic, and they can't figure out that people are breaking in these attics, you know? I mean, what are you, playing stupid or what, you know? And here we go. This is from Joe, and I don't know if Joe's the dad. I assume it is. It says, going on close to 50 hours ago, my daughter received a phone call from our daughter. Through tears, she said, "I'm sorry, I love you, but I have to go." In the last week, there have been some confrontation between Chloe and a group of her friends, one being a young man named Bowie Thar. Bowie and Chloe had been entertaining a relationship, and days prior decided it wasn't working. Chloe was heartbroken. Sometime between Monday and Tuesday morning, the group had apparently worked out their differences. As Chloe shared with her mom, "We are all friends again." Tuesday evening, Tammy, Chloe's mom, and Chloe had dinner before Tammy had to head off to finish a shift at work. Around 5:56 p.m., Tammy receives a call from Chloe, a little upset, saying she needed to step out and talk to her friends. Yes, the ones that they were friends again. Tammy's told Chloe not to leave anywhere, and Chloe assured her mom she's only stepping outside. About 7:58 p.m., Tammy received another call. This time, Chloe is crying and tells her mom, "I'm sorry, I love you, I had to leave." Nearly 50 hours later, we have quite a bit of information on the kids she was with, where they may possibly be, and the reason to be concerned. Groomed is the phrase that comes to my mind as I pray that this is hopefully only a teenage stunt and not the latter. after police questioned a home that wouldn't permit the officers to enter, a text was sent to Chloe's mom asking her to stop looking for her, that she is in good hands. Many out-of-character actions and even the verbiage of text and the way she addresses elements of this led us to feel this was possibly not Chloe sending the text. Tomorrow's flowers will be released from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. There is certain rumors circulating at Legacy High that Chloe was kidnapped by her boyfriend, Bowie Thar, and we have reason to feel that this may be true. As I type these words, I'm taken by the reality of this is really happening. My precious baby girl is really missing and potentially in danger. This has been taxing a couple days. We're asking for prayers as well as your help to spread the word. We want to make it known and very clear that whomever has our daughter, hear me now, you will be charged for harboring a runaway, endangerment of a child, and potential kidnapping. This is not a joke and we're not playing. I encourage you to release her now before this goes any further. We will make sure we do everything in our power to alert the word and plaster her face as well as yours everywhere. Chloe, baby girl, if you read this, please rest assured that you're not in trouble. We are worried and just want you to come home. Okay. And so that might have been the granddad that did that. I shared that. And Joe wrote on my Facebook and said, thank you for sharing exactly what we're trying to avoid. Thank you for getting the word out. Because I'm saying, look in the underground homes. I said, you're welcome. I have 2 daughters and 3 granddaughters, and I know this could happen to anybody. My prayers are that Chloe is found safe. Okay. And so I wanted to show you that share. Okay. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this, of where the police should be looking. Okay. And into trying to find Chloe, and to trying to find Caitlin, and trying to find Crystal, and to find where that little girl was murdered at, where these oil show parties are, where they were forced prostitution, that are connected to many, many other crimes: burglary, thefts, murder, racketeering, organized crime. Okay. Lots of police corruption. Okay. And so here, I'm going to start here. The evidence shows, I just had a long conversation explaining the evidence for the underground homes and the multiple murders I believe are connected to them. My friend believes this is too complicated for a person to understand, but I don't think it is, and I can't change the facts anyway. I repeatedly stated that $1 million underground homes that were put in for the Bushes and were hosting parties for international oil shows would be known by many people. The cover-up isn't because law enforcement is too stupid to figure this out. It's clearly unprecedented corruption. They're covering it up on purpose. It's not because they're so dumb they can't figure out there's $1 million underground homes here. That's pretty obvious right now. And then that's pretty obvious that little girls are being murdered there. Okay. Okay, here's the story, and I'm going to break that down in the comments because I've got the pictures on it, with each of the bullet points there. But here I finished with, is this too hard to figure out? And I started with this picture right here. And one of my main pictures, I'm showing, I went to Google Earth and I downloaded this. And this was about the time that I was ambushed and shot by somebody under my home with burglar alarms going off in the attic. And so this is my home on Fair Circle in Midland, Texas. Here's an alley here, and here's the back of Home Depot. This is the Home Depot store. And here's where I noticed where it looks like they cut a ditch. Okay, and I believe the people going to the oil show parties were using this tunnel right here. They were going underground somewhere in this building in Home Depot, parking in that parking lot, using this right here. And in my backyard is where it's believed one of the 4 $1 million underground homes is located. I showed you a minute ago. You could see it on Google Maps up until just a couple of weeks ago, until I contacted the city of Midland and notified them that, hey, this is, there's all this evidence, including this on Google Maps, and then it gets deleted, and I believe they did that. I believe somebody, probably the city of Midland, in an attempt to cover up capital murders, contacted Google. Okay. And I'm showing here, I was back here with Homeland Security in 2019, showing them where I believe this human trafficking murder tunnel was at, and 2 weeks later they dug that up and they poured concrete. Okay. And so, and there's other stuff here, like the suspected tunnel entrance in the neighbor's backyard got removed once I found it. Okay. Right here, there was another suspected tunnel entrance. They took that live tree out, poured concrete there too. Okay, so I just want to show you that. Here's the bullet points, okay? And then this is all to supporting evidence, okay? And you look at this as a whole, and then you ask yourself, why isn't law enforcement exposing these underground homes to uncover these murders and look for this little girl? Why are they not? Okay, and here I'm going to start here with the first one. In October 2010, my friend Angie Mungia Herrley told me about a young girl that was murdered at a party going on during the 2010 Permian Basin International Oil Show because she didn't want to prostitute. Angie was afraid to report this murder and told me that high-level police were also at those parties. At the time, Angie was leaving my home and at the parties in 5 minutes. I know this because we were talking on the phone while she drove there, and this is a fact that can be verified with phone records. At 11 p.m. each night, Angie would put me on hold and go get her pill as they were systematically drugging these women and girls. She said that girl that was murdered didn't wake up, the girl that didn't want to prostitute. In 2013, the remains of a 14 to 21-year-old black girl was found outside of Midland. There's a Crime Stoppers for this homicide. I suspected this was the girl that Angie told me about based on the time and lack of an investigation. I believe that if law enforcement would uncover the underground homes and speak to the many witnesses that I've documented, then they could solve this murder. I believe they're intentionally covering up this girl's murder, okay, which is connected to multiple other crimes and murders. And a part of the problem is there's police involvement. We have some police corruption. That don't mean all police are bad. That means we have some police that are bad. Okay. The previous owner of my home, Mike Lawhon, died the week before the 2008 oil show started. Okay. A former neighbor, Marilyn DeLuigi, told me twice he died in this house, and she also said that somebody else died here before Mike did. His death certificate says he died in Fort Worth. The Odessa American posted a death notice for him, saying that he died in Fort Worth, but then 4 days later they posted a second death notice and changed the location of death to say he died at his residence. This confirmed what the neighbor told me twice. I believe he was murdered here and taken there. Okay, so this is another murder, I believe, connected to the underground homes, because it looks like one of them's in the backyard of this house right here that this guy owned. 27 years old, now dead, okay? And in two different locations. Like I said, Odessa American posted the first death notice, said he died in Fort Worth, and then they changed their mind, posted a second death notice, and said he died at his residence, and that's what confirmed what the neighbor told me. Marilyn DeLuigi told me twice. And she also said somebody else died here before him. A local businessman named Aaron Packelhofer told me that 4 people had been murdered, died in my home, and I have a print screen for proof of this too. Okay, so this is all going to go to support the the idea that these underground homes are connected to murders, and maybe that's where Chloe is. That's what we're doing here. Okay, and this was a Facebook conversation, so it's not my buddy said, Aaron said. I'm letting you read what Aaron said. Here's what Aaron said. Aaron says, I'm well aware of the many corruption accusations against the Midland Police Department, and I'm not so sure it's secret police as much as it's just pure criminal activity by the police. But if I can ask, there were 4 people who were murdered, died in your house. What are their names? 4 people murdered, died in my house. I think Mike Lawhon's one of them. I think that little girl in 2010 Angie told me about is another one. That still leaves 2 more, and they don't even count me that they tried to murder in a premeditated, a capital attempted murder. Robert Lee, who told me that he ran the Harley dealership, asked me, did the real estate person not mention that somebody died or was killed in that house? I took a screenshot for proof, okay? And so once again, it's not Buddy said, Robert said, okay? I got the print screen. Did the real estate person not mention someone was killed in that house, okay? That, and there we go, supporting evidence of these murders at this house, okay? The first person to mention an underground facility being here was my ex-wife, and she sternly warned me, well, if there is an underground facility here, then these people wouldn't want to give it up. She was warning me, okay? And remember, this is the 3-month marriage. She's now alleged to be involved in the shooting by her former boyfriend, and that's what Arthur Welch said, And that's where we found out that, she was lifelong friends with dirty cop Rosie Rodriguez, which was one of the main players in the capital murder attempt on my life, on tampering with evidence and falsifying police reports, perjured herself in court, etc. I also recorded another lady that told me that she was told there were 4 3-bedroom $1 million underground homes here, buried at least 25 foot deep, and they were having pedophile parties down there. She also mentioned a guy connected to them that lived in a town near Hobbs that started with an A. I believe that to be Artesia, New Mexico, where the wealthiest person in New Mexico lives. He sold his company to Concho for over $1 billion. Concho in Midland, Texas. The phone call is on YouTube for proof. That's this phone call right here, where she tells me that there's 4 3-bedroom $1 million underground homes buried at least 25 foot deep. They were having pedophile parties down there. Well, that would fit the 14-year-old found outside of Midland after the oil show parties. You see what I'm saying? And then there's a whole bunch of stories about the wealthy guy from Artesia. And so a woman named Rhonda Denman Rogers told me that an underground facility was a half block away on Facebook, and I have a screenshot for proof. I've wondered if that underground home was located in an empty lot around the corner from a home next to a home where a Concho safety man lives. That home had the same weird mortar problem that my home had, which is believed to come from digging under the home. Okay, I'm going to show you. Okay, this is just here's Rhonda. She said it's a half block away. Yes, I know it's a half block away. She didn't say that the underground facility was 2.5 blocks, 4.5 blocks, 8.5 blocks. She said a half block away. Rhonda Denman Rogers knows exactly where it's located at. And I believe this is one of the 4 underground homes. Well, a half block away, round the corner, is an empty lot right here, okay? And there's a water well there. I called attention to it because my neighbor has a water well right next to my backyard, where it's believed that underground home is in the backyard. And this home on Westmont Court, 3900 Westmont Court, see, it's whitewashed. They had the same mortar problem my home had. And a contractor told me the mortar problem came from a foundation problem, which I took to mean they were digging under the house. The house settled, broke the mortar joints. That caused the mortar problem. That house, I wondered, hadn't been dug under, and it had the same mortar problem. So I wonder if that is not where one of the other 4 underground homes is located. That might have been where the oil show parties were. Maybe that's where the little girl was murdered at. It's owned by Concho Safety Man. A CAD program named Layla O'Brien told me that she worked on this underground project, which was completed in 1987 with a budget on permit for $7.35 million. Also secretly recorded Layla, who told me that she worked for PBK at the time, and they also put a school in here. I asked her if she had to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, and she said, "Oh, I had to sign more stuff for that job than any other job I ever worked." I have screenshots and recordings for this too. And I want to mention NDAs are not valid if they're being used to cover up capital murders. Okay, I mean, let's she can talk about it all day she wants if they're making people sign NDAs so they can rape and murder little girls underground. Okay, that's all there is to it. Layla O'Brien, $7.35 million. I looked up her LinkedIn. She worked for PBK, just like she said. I recorded her. I've got that recording on the phone call on YouTube right now. I mean, there were so many details. It's just absurd to call her a liar. Absolutely. And then another woman, Julia Weidman, she drives down from Dallas-Fort Worth because she's an expert in these permits for underground facilities, and she meets with the city of Midland, and they gleefully tell her that all the permits were deleted in 2014-15, and I'm shot in 2012. So all the permits for storm shelters, underground facilities are accidentally deleted. Ain't that convenient? Because she said they're on permit, okay? It was $7.35 million on permit, and all the permits are deleted. Ain't that what a coinky dinky, ain't it? It's just perfect if you want to rape and murder little girls, right? Another woman called and told me to look up my address on Google Maps, and to my great surprise, I see they're showing a large building in my backyard on the map screen that can't be seen on the sat screen or from above ground. I made many videos and screenshots showing this, but it was recently deleted after I told the city of Midland about this supporting evidence. It's easy to see that this is one of the 4 underground homes that multiple people have said were here. I later found out that the city of Midland accidentally deleted all permanent records. I showed you that a minute ago. That was Julia's note. Okay. And we looked at this. This is from above. Okay. Here we go. And here's my home. And here's the backyard right here. Okay. And you can see real clear where the bunker was in the backyard. Now deleted off Google Maps. Google Earth historical maps is showing what looked like a tunnel ditch was cut coming from the back of Home Depot and aimed directly at my home. Showed y'all that earlier. I believe this was used for the people at the underground parties. I showed this to DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, because they're supposed to take care of human trafficking. And on July 2nd, 2019, but Agent Paul Cervantes seemed to be more interested in me selling my home since I lived under the threat of death. 2 weeks later, they dug up the ground and poured concrete. But I got this on video. 3 months later, Secretary of DHS resigned, and 6 days later, the Secretary of Energy resigned. I wondered if they were involved in trying to cover up the oil show party murders for some oil companies, okay? Because that wouldn't be good on stock, right? And I got a feeling these multi-billion-dollar oil companies have been leaning on and paying off, bribing law enforcement and public officials, elected officials. Ricky Ronaldo says, when I was a kid, there were tunnels in the house, and me and my brother used to go down there. Another print screen. And I was showing you a minute ago, you see where the ditch was cut, where the tunnel ditch was cut, coming to my house, and in the backyard was one of the underground homes. Multiple people said they were here. Okay, well, that shouldn't be too hard to figure out for law enforcement, but 2 weeks after I showed Homeland, they're back here pouring concrete, digging that whole thing up. It's just amazing, amazing cover-up. I mean, the lengths they'll go to cover up the murders of these little girls. Judy Chris Horta told me that she was told this was front page news when they were built, but they said it was salt vaults to store surplus oil. But if you talk to the teenagers that helped work on them, they said it was houses. I took a screenshot for proof, okay? So it's not Buddy said, Judy said. Here it is. That's what she said. You know, there's lots of people that know about $1 million underground homes. That's all there is to it. And if they do, then if they didn't report it, then they need to be arrested for obstructing justice and capital murders. Another woman who asked to be kept anonymous told me, I've had a lot of people here recently in the past week talking about a lot of the underground tunnels there and discussing the underground. Word here in Midland is how there's a game room where all the high officials go to and bet money. And when money and whatever else they do down there. And she's talking about prostitution, right? I have a print screen for proof, okay? So there we go. And once again, I kept her anonymous because these are dangerous criminals with some very corrupt police involved, okay? And then that's why everybody's afraid to talk. But yeah, there's a game room, and multiple people. Just recently, another woman talked extensively about playing poker underground. Affluent people here playing poker underground. Yeah, it's got fun just going to having poker games, until you rape and murder little girls down there, okay? A woman named Tisha Brumley told me, I have friends who have been involved in these oil show parties. They're exactly what you say. They are underground homes. My sister used to do the oil show parties, and I got close to them before she shut that down. I took a screenshot for proof. Okay, so here's Tisha telling me, confirming they are underground homes. Well, yeah, that's pretty obvious already, but thank you, Tisha, for being one more person to confirm that. And another thing about this woman I was telling you about, I don't know how many times that I heard her say, they're not denying that there's no underground homes here. And I said, no, they illegally omitted it on the police report, because that's where those police got my house was from under my home. Okay, here we go. A woman named Jessica Lee Hadley said, I've been to 2,000 oilfield shows, and I tell you what, there's more than just that one was murdered or raped because they didn't do whatever they wanted her to do. I took a screenshot for proof. So it's not, Buddy said, Jessica said. Now keep that in mind. There's more than one girl that was murdered or raped down there, okay? And that alone ought to, give us more incentive to expose these underground crime centers. During the election for Midland Sheriff, I was on the phone and telling my story to Sheriff candidate Joe Lozano. We were talking about the underground homes when he said, Buddy, that was Painter's hideout. Gary Painter was our last sheriff that had recently died. I was secretly recording this conversation. Angie told me that high-level police were at the 2010 oil show party when the young girl was murdered, and I suspect that Painter was one of them. I made this phone call into a video, and it went viral. Our press hid this from the public, even though it could have changed the results of an election. A sheriff candidate confirming these $1 million underground homes are here, and that's where it's believed that they're connected to multiple murders, forced prostitution, illegal gambling, etc. Racketeering, organized crime. Another woman recently told me, I was a former escort and I went to almost every oil show in Midland, Odessa from 2008 to 2019. I told her about Angie telling me about the girl that was murdered, and she said, yes, I believe it. I was 16, 17 at the time, and they would prefer They would prefer us younger girls other than the older women. I then told her that Angie told me that they were drugging them each night, and she said, yes, it's true. I kept her anonymous because I know how dangerous these criminals are, but I have screenshots for proof. I took a print screen for proof, and that was the conversation right here. I was a former escort. This is the person that was telling me this. This is a witness right here, is what it is, you know. And I mean, how many witnesses do you need? It also confirmed the child sex trafficking that was already suspected, and you know, and that's why I believe actually the girl found murdered was probably closer to 14 than she was to 21, because they prefer the younger girls than the elder ones. Lance Eggleston wrote on my Facebook and says, we have access to your residence at all times. Nobody will ever believe your story. You'll be silenced, not if, but when. And I said, when are you going to murder me, Lance? I took a print screen and emailed it to Chief of Police, Robinson at the time. He ignored it. Another guy told me, you have two choices. You can either move or meet God early. And I've documented hundreds of other people asking or ordering me to sell my home and move while I live under the threat of death. It's easy to see why they want me to move, as this home is rigged with hidden underground access. There's an underground home in the backyard, just like it looks like on Google Maps, or looked like. It's connected with multiple murders, and some of them with police involvement. Conspiring with others to terrorize a person into selling their property is a violation of the Hobbs Act and carries 20 years in prison. And that is exactly what's going on here. I call this my mood post. It's not even, this is just a tad of the people that are going, I'd move. Real hateful stuff. Leah Britt, move. I believe Leah knows something. Okay. Here's another one right here. Sell and move the F out, you moron. Betty Thomas. You can bet Betty Thomas knows something about these crimes and murders in underground homes. You know, all these people wanting me to move. And then these are the death threats, you know. 2 weeks later, nobody had nowhere to be found, you know. They're going to get the snitch. So somebody breaks in your home, cuts your phone lines and shoots you. You report it to law enforcement. This guy, Randy Wallace, says you're a snitch, you know. It's just ridiculous what's going on here. Hobbs Act right here. That's saying you conspire with others to terrorize a property owner into selling their home while under threat, then it's a violation. The Hobbs Act carries 20 years in prison. There's more of them than I can count. Why? Because they know them underground homes are here. That's why. In January 2012, I called the DEA and reported a suspected tunnel here, but they didn't look. And 2 weeks later, I was ambushed and shot by somebody under my home with my phone lines cut and burglar alarms going off in my attic. Back then, all I had was this crazy story, but now I've found multiple proof showing that I wasn't shot with my gun, proof of these many people saying that tunnels and underground homes are here, and about 50 other homeowners reporting people in the attic, with a dozen addresses in Midland and another dozen in Odessa. It's going on all over the country. This is nationwide organized crime racketeering. In 2019, evidence was found that placed 5 police officers, Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale, in or at my home that were not seen arriving on the security cameras that had seen other officers, Woodward and Naylor, with all of my other doors and windows secured with extra locks. This proved they came into my home from the underground trapdoor that the ex-wife had already told me about and from where I'd been shot from. Police were under my home and somebody under my home shot me. That's a fact. That's on the night of the murder attempt. Them were people that law enforcement could sit down and ask, do you know anything about $1 million underground homes put in for a former vice president? Because if you do, then you're covering them up. You're covering up capital murders, right? They were under my home. It's showing time stamped on the security camera. That's why they withheld the police report for 7 years, because that police report had incriminated evidence. And so at 11:01, Woodward and Naylor seen showing up. They were not dispatched. The names were illegally omitted from the police report. Took 6 years to get them identified. But here's when I got the police report.